Hi everybody, James Oldenburg here again. I haven't posted anything in a while, and I just thought I'd do a little talk about major scale modes. So there's a lot of talk about modes and whether they're useful to think about or not. I think they are definitely, even in a tune that's not necessarily a modal tune. So we're going to look at modes inside of a tune called Autumn Leaves, which is a very standard jazz tune. And so we'll look at that. So it's in the key of E minor. Now E minor is the relative minor of G major. So I'll just look at that for a second. G major scale, has an F sharp in it. So it would be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And of course you would do that everywhere if I kept going. A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. I could also reach the A in this position. So we're going to talk about the modes of this scale. So the very first mode is based on the first chord of the key, which would be G. Every one of these notes that I played in the scale can have a chord assigned to it. So the G note is assigned to a G major 7 chord, which, is, in jazz, it's a standard to use 4-note chords, which is comprised of the root, the third, the fifth, and the 7th of that particular chord. So if we look at a G chord, the first note is G. The third note, the second note would be A, so the third note would be B. So that's in the chord. The fourth note is C, which is not in the chord, but the next note is D, which is in the chord. So it's every other note. So we have G, no A, but a B, no C, but a D, no E, but an F sharp, because we're in the key of G. So the notes of the chord would be G, B, D, F sharp. Now that's commonly known as an arpeggio. So I can play those. Arpeggio just means broken chord. So if I go G, B, D, F sharp, it sounds like that chord. So now the next chord that you would find in the key of G would be on the 2 chord. So the second note of the scale would be A. Now if I build every other note there, I would get A, no B but a C, no D but an E, no F sharp but a G, and that would generate an A minor 7th chord. So I'm not going to go into why they're major or minor. I'm sure you understand that, and if not, then I've got some other videos on here that'll explain the difference between major and minor and how to construct chords. So the second chord of the key is minor. Now the third chord is also minor, built on the note B. G, A, B is the third note. So if I build that chord, I get B minor 7. Same chord, same relationship as A minor 7. You'll notice I'm just using this shape, moving it up 2 frets, adding the bass, moving it up 2 frets, and I get B minor 7. Now the fourth chord in the key, based on the fourth note, 1, 2, 3, 4, is C, so we get C major 7. The next note would be D, and that would generate a D7 chord. And the next note would be E, so we're on the 6th note now. That would be E minor. So E minor 7 chord. And then the last chord of the key would be F sharp. Last note of the scale would be F sharp. And that generates a chord called F minor 7 flat 5, also known as a half diminished. It sounds like that. So if I play the scale, we get, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If I play it in chords, I get do, re, mi, sol, la, ti, do. So there's the harmonized scale. So all those notes in all those chords came from this scale. So there's nothing foreign to that. So it's just basically G to G, and every F that I would have played in any of these chords would be sharped as well. So that's fine. When you look at a tune that's basically based on a certain key, it follows those chords, and whatever progression you have, how the chords follow from one to the other, creates a certain sound. So if we look at a common progression in jazz is a 2-5-1. So the 2 in G would be A minor 7. The 5 would be D dominant 7. And the 1 chord would be G major 7. So there's a lot of tunes that use that progression. So A minor to D7 and to G major 7. Usually 2 bars because it's a 4-bar phrase. So when you're soloing on these chords, you can play just the G major scale. It will work. It will sound fine. The problem with just playing the G major scale is that people tend to run up and down the scale without really addressing the chords at the time. And again, they will all sound okay, but they sound like you're just sort of noodling through this scale without thinking about what notes you're playing. So what you want to do is start to focus on the tones of each chord in each bar as they pass. So if I'm playing a G major 7 chord, if I'm going to play the note G, or the note B, or the note D, or the note F sharp, those are the notes that I want to sort of land my phrase on at the end of the phrase. Let's say it was ending on a G major 7 chord. I'd want to end on one of those notes. And that sort of outlines the chord. If I played, that 2-5-1 that I just did, A minor, D7 to G, I could do it as all chord tones, and you would hear the chords in my single lines. So I would get G, sorry, we're in G. So I would get A minor, so I would get D7, I'll just do it backwards, which takes me right into the G. So if I play it in time, I'll get A minor, sounds like ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-da-dum. So you can see how that line fits those chords. It outlines those chords. So I don't really need somebody to play the chords. I could play, lines. And you kind of hear the chords in the lines that I'm doing. If I just played the scale and noodled around with that, you don't hear any chords. You just hear somebody noodling. Now, if you had a band playing and they were playing all those chords, it would sound okay because all those notes you can justify inside the chords in some form or another. All the chords, because all the chords came from that scale, then all those notes can be added to any one of those chords to create what's called a chord extension. So we're adding notes that maybe don't belong to the basic chord, but they maybe would add a 9 or 11 or a 13 on top of that chord. So the way you want to look at the tunes, we're going to look at the tune Autumn Leaves, And the way that tune goes is it starts on the 2 chord, just like I did in the demonstration. So it's in the key of G. It starts on A minor 7, which is the 2nd chord in G. Does that for a bar. Then it goes to D7 for a bar. Then it resolves to G, where it wants to go. 2, 5, 1, G major 7. Instead of doing 2 bars of G7, it goes to the 4 chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be a C chord. And this 4 chord is always a major 7 chord. So that's C major 7. So the first phrase, which is a 4-bar statement in this tune, is A minor to D7 to G major 7 to C major 7. Now the next phrase goes to F sharp minor 7 flat 5, which is that half diminished chord, which also comes from this scale. But this chord can be thought of in another way. So what we're going to do is look at the next three chords in this key are going to be the F sharp minor 7 flat 5, which is the 7th chord of the key. The next chord is B7, which is foreign to the key. It does not belong to the key of G, simply because it has a D sharp in the chord, which is foreign to the key of G. But it resolves to E minor, which is in the key. So what we have there is a 2, 5, 1 in the relative minor key. So every major key has a relative minor. And that minor is found on the 6th degree. So if I play G major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's G major. If I go to the 6th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's the note E, which would be an E minor chord based on that scale. So if I play a scale now from E to E using exactly the same notes, I can start on any E. I'll do this one. So E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. You can tell that sound doesn't sound like major. It doesn't sound like do, re, mi. That note sounds a little off. Sounds very sad. So the relative minor is quite often used in a song when it wants to go to a different feel. It'll go to the relative minor key, which in this case again is E minor. So that's exactly what this tune does. And the whole tune ends on E minor. So when you call this tune, when you say what key is it in, even though it looks like it's in the key of G with 1 sharp, you've got to always look at, the structure of the tune and especially how it ends. And this song ends on E minor, so it's called in E minor. So it's Autumn Leaves in E minor, which is the same key signature as G major in that. In other words, it has the F sharp. So I'm going to look at the first phrase first because it's a little easier to deal with. So if I look at the A minor chord, and I'm wondering how to solo on it. When we do this, we're not playing anything other than this G major scale. But if you play it according to the modes of the chords, then you will get a chord, you'll get a melody that sounds more akin to that chord. So you can hear, like I demonstrated at first in the 2-5-1, when I play my lines, it'll sound like you can hear the chords. It's outlining the harmony of the song. So if I go to the A minor, now just as the G, when I'm constructing the G, if I play the G on the downbeat, it's a strong beat. The upbeat does not belong to the chord, but the next downbeat does. So all my more dynamic notes, the ones that are a little louder, are going to be chord tones. So G belongs A, B belongs, C doesn't, D does, E doesn't, F sharp does, and then we're back to G. So when I play a line like that, it sounds like that chord. Now, if I go to the A minor chord, if I start on the note A and play exactly the same notes, I get A is a strong beat, B is a weak beat, C is strong, D is weak, E is strong, F sharp is weak, and G would be strong. So that would be the seventh of the A minor chord. So this chord in a melody situation sounds like this. Sounds like that chord. So that's the second mode of G major, the first mode being G major. So the second mode, and these all have old church names. So because this theory has been around for a very long time. So the G major, another name for that is the Ionian mode, which is again an old church mode. So whether you know the names of the modes is irrelevant, but you can call this the first mode if you like. The second mode would be A off of the A, and that mode has a name too. It's called the Dorian mode. So the Dorian mode is A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Sounds sad, sounds minor. The B minor chord, these are all seventh chords, by the way. So they're B minor 7. Sometimes I get lazy and don't say the 7. So the B minor 7, same scale, but I'm starting on B. And every other note will generate that chord sound. So B is strong, C is weak. Sounds like that. Sorry. Sounds like that chord. Right? And then if I go to the next chord, it's a major chord, C major. The B, I forgot. So the B, the third mode is called the Phrygian mode, P-H-R-Y, Phrygian. So Phrygian mode is also a minor mode. When I go to the C, we're back to a major mode. Now this isn't just a major scale. It's called the Lydian mode because this scale now is not like C major. So C major is this. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So it has an F natural in it. All the notes are natural in the key of C. In the key of G, though, that has an F sharp. So that sound is a little odd. That's the sound of Lydian, right? And that goes with this major chord. When I go to the next chord, it's D7, which is a dominant chord. It's got some tension in it. That also, if you don't know what these are, you can look at that, or I do a whole lesson on just the basic chords and how they're constructed in a major scale. So the D7 is a dominant chord, and we get a mode called the Mixolydian off of that. So that starts on the note D because it's a D chord. Same notes though. Sounds like that chord. When I go to the next mode, it's the E minor. So E minor 7. Again, starting on the E. Sounds like that chord. That chord is called the Aeolian. Now that chord, and that, if we play a scale on that Aeolian is also called the natural minor because it's the minor scale that is associated with G major. Every major scale has a relative minor, and this is the relative minor for that. Again, it's found on the 6th degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The note E is the natural minor of this key. The last mode is a little odd. It's off of the F sharp or F sharp minor 7 flat 5 or F sharp half diminished. You can play in various places, of course, like all chords. If I start on the F sharp, it's also a minor mode. Just like E minor was a minor mode, F sharp minor 7 flat 5 is a minor mode, but it has a flat 5 in it, which makes it sound a little tense, right? Okay, so those are all the modes that are in the every major key. They're all the same modes, same names. Of course, the notes will be different because the keys are different. You're starting on different notes all the time. So we have, just to reiterate, we have the Ionian mode based on G, which is the major scale. We have A minor 7, which is the second note of the scale. That's a minor mode. B minor 7 is a minor mode based on the third note of the scale, Phrygian. The next one is the Lydian mode, which is a major sound based on the fourth note. The fifth note is a dominant 7, which is actually, the most important chord of the key because it has the tension that really wants to go back home to G. So the D7 is a dominant 7, and that mode is called the Mixolydian mode, or the fifth mode, however way you want to think about it. And then the sixth mode is the relative minor, E minor. And then the last mode of the key would be F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord, which generates the Locrian mode. I didn't mention that name, so that's the Locrian mode. So those are the names of the modes of G. Now, again, a lot of people will say, well, why do I have to think about all this stuff if they're using all the notes in the key of G? Simply put, if you just play the G scale, you're not really thinking about the chords that are going by, and you don't sound like you're with the band. It won't sound bad, but it won't sound as focused as it can. So a great way to practice this is to look at the modes inside this scale. So here's the scale, G major. This is 2 octaves. I like to practice my scales in position like that. So you notice I started on G, went as high as I could, which was actually more than the G. I went to the G and I went to A because I could still reach that A note. So if I start on the G, I get my ears set in that tonality. And I also went as low as I could in that position, which was 1 note lower, the F sharp. But I ended on the G. So it's Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, higher, and it comes to rest on the G again. So that's the sound of the basic scale. So now when I look at the chords in Autumn Leaves, the first chord is A minor. So an easy way to deal with that is just deal with the first 3 notes of the scale. Because within the first 3 notes, you're going to hear the root, A. The second note's not so important right now, but I end on the third note, which is the critical note in all chords because it tells you whether that chord is major or minor. So this is a flatted third in the key of A. When you analyze a chord, you always think in the key of the chord. So I'm not going to get into that right now, but hopefully you understand that, and if not, you can go back into one of my other videos where I talk about that. So A, B, C natural, that gives you the sound of minor. Doesn't sound, that's a major sound. Sounds happy. The minor sound is a little sadder. So if I play the first 3 notes of G, I get a happy sound because that's the major third. Ba ba ba. Now this is sad. Da da da. The next one should be sad as well because it's minor. Da da da. The next one's a major sound. Da, da, da. But it's also a little tense, and that's the dominant side of that. Then it goes to E, the sixth chord, which is also minor. Off of the E, da, da, da. Sounds sad. The F sharp minor also sounds sad. Da, da, da. But it has that little twist in it. That's the flat 5 sound. And that's it. So if I play those 3 notes, you can kind of hear the chord progression. Here's the chord progression in the first 4 chords. So the first phrase goes A minor, D7, to G major 7, to C major 7. So if I play that melodically, I get A minor, then it goes to D7, to G major, to C major. So that sounds like it fits perfectly well with the chords. So I've got a little backtrack here. I'll just play the backtrack, and then you can hear how this kind of sounds like I'm with them. So I'll just stop it there because then it goes back to the minor section. So that is a great thing to be starting your journey in modes, is just simply play the first 3 notes, which gets you to the sound of the chord being either major or minor. That can get expanded, so we don't jump in and play the whole scale right away. If I expand those to the 5th note, remembering that all the chord tones are root, 3, 5, or 7. So now instead of just going root to 3, I'll go root, 3, 4, 5. I'll use that note. So these would all be good landing notes to signify the sound of the chord at the time. So if I play that same progression, but I'll go to the 5 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you hear how those notes went really well with the chords. And also, if I didn't play any chords, you could still hear that chord progression. So if I play around with that now, I won't play them as a scale, but I'll definitely start on the note. And the key is that you want to end on a note in the progression, in the chord. So if I play A minor, just kind of give you a beat. So here's a beat, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear that sounds like the chords, and you can construct whatever lines you want to make out of those. Now eventually you can look at the whole scale and any octave, so I could play the G major, any of this. But again, that's a little much to be jumping right in on. If I want the sound of a minor chord, A minor, I can play the whole thing as A minor. That's 2 octaves of A minor. So here's another A. That'll sound good. A, C natural, or E. So if I land on the E, that sounds great with the chord. Okay. Yeah, we're recording. Okay, so sorry, I had a little breakdown there. My battery died on the camera. So starting again on just wrapping up the major modes. So we have G major 7, which is just the major scale. It's a major sound. The second chord is A minor 7, so your scale also sounds minor, based off of the Dorian mode. Then the third mode, off of the B, would be B Phrygian. Sorry, I keep playing a C sharp there because that exists in the tune. I did one earlier. But it should be C natural, of course. F sharp. That sounds Phrygian. That's the very Spanish mode. Sounds very Spanishy. Okay, so now the next mode is C major, which is the Lydian mode. Has that interesting sharp 4. Right? It's interesting sound. Then the dominant chord creates a Mixolydian mode, starting on the D. Then the next mode is E minor. So it's an E minor, which is the natural minor of G. It's related to the key of G in that they share the same key signature. And so then that would be E minor mode as well. Sounds like E minor. F sharp half diminished, or minor 7 flat 5, is also, of course, a minor sound. Got that little bit of tension with the flat 5 in there. And then we're back to G. So we're back to square one again. So if I'm going to play the backtrack one more time, and I'll sort of free improvise. Because they're only a bar long, sometimes I'll go to the 5th. So in A, I'm going to start on the upper octave just because it's more like soloing. You wouldn't solo on the bass strings too much. So like the A would be A, B, C, D, E. Again, I'm going to target that E. I'm not going to only go to D because D doesn't belong to this chord. But what I'm going to try to do this time is I'm going to play in phrases. So rather than play through the all 4 chords all the time, I'm going to try to make this A minor chord, the very first chord, which is the 2 chord. A minor, 2, 3, goes to D. And I'm going to end my phrase there because that sounds like a 2-bar phrase. So I might do something like this. I landed on a D. I'll just let it sit there. That gives me a little bit of a breather. I've said something. So I went da 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 da. So I could play the similar line on the G. What did I do? What did I sing? Da, 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 da. That's what I sang. So that would be G. Da, 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 da. And you can see how that works. So I'll play a little bit of that, whatever comes to mind with the backtrack. The minor bit, we have to talk about that. So I'll just do it one more time, try a different line. This time I'll go lower. That's off to the minor bit now. Okay, so that's kind of wraps up what I wanted to say about the major modes. And again, you can take the whole scale. So I could play G major. If I have long enough to play, I can get a lot of notes in. If it's only a bar, obviously I'm not going to scream through all that. It's not very musical. And the same, but every one of these modes now creates its own scale based off of the same notes. So A minor sounds like that chord. Even though the notes were the same, it's because we're focusing on A, C, E, G, which are the 4 notes that are in this chord. And I'm stressing those so that it sounds like I'm outlining that chord. All right, so now we move into the minor section. The minor section goes F sharp minor 7 flat 5, which again is the 7 chord in G. It occurs naturally in G. Like if it went back to G from there, there would be no key change. I would just think of it all as G. But it doesn't. At that point, it goes to F sharp minor 7 flat 5, but the next chord is the telltale chord. It's B7. Now that has a D sharp in it. So that does not belong to the key of G. It's foreign to the key of G. So this chord must be borrowed from some other key. And then that B7, now the dominant chord is the 5 chord of some key. So if I backtrack, if I go up 4 letter names, B, C, D, E, it's the same as going back 5. So if I start at E, E, F, G, A, B, it's 5 away. But if I start at the B and go B, C, D, E, I only go 4 ahead, I get the same answer. So it's related to the key of E. So this B7 wants to resolve either to E major or to E minor. Both are great. And so this 5 chord is the same chord for both E major and E minor. So right now we're talking about the key of E minor because this is where this tune modulates to. So it goes a 2, 5, 1, 4 in G, and now it goes 2, 5, 1 in E minor. So again, E minor, well, a natural minor is just the same notes as G, but I start on E, has that F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, and I'm back to E again. So I can repeat that through the whole fretboard if I want in whatever position. So you can see E minor is related to G, it's same notes, but I'm focusing on the E, not so much the F sharp, the G, all the chord tones in an E minor chord. So buried within the major scale, we have 3 different minor modes. We have the Dorian mode, which is based off of the 2 chord. We have the Phrygian mode based off of the 3 chord. And we have the E minor, the 6 chord, which is what we're talking about now. Now the 6th one is special because it is the related scale, the relative minor of G major. So quite often in a song, if it's in G major, it may go to the minor for the chorus or for a bridge. It may go back to G major. So it's kind of the first move a composer will move to. If it starts in a minor key, he may go to the relative major. If it starts in a major key, it may modulate to the relative minor. And that's very easy on our ears because those chords basically came from the same scale. Now the 6th chord, the E minor, that scale has actually 3 different mutations. So if I do the natural mode, you can see that sounds great over an E minor chord. Now there's also a scale called a harmonic minor, and what you do there is you raise the 7th note of this scale. So we're still thinking of it like it's related to G. It has the F sharp, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but right here, I put a D sharp in there instead of a D, and that's right before the E, right before the resolve. So it kind of has some tension there, but it sounds very exotic, kind of Middle Eastern. Put the D sharp there too, E minor. So that also sounds great over that E minor chord. The other mutation that we use for this scale is a melodic minor, and it has one more different note in it. So it has the raised 6 and the raised 7. So I have same at the beginning, still minor, E, F sharp, G, that's the minor bit. As soon as I get to the 3rd note, if it's a minor 3rd, it's a minor chord. But now here, it kind of turns into E major in that it goes A is normal, B, but C is sharp. The 6th note gets raised from C to C sharp. The 7th note is also raised to D sharp. So this part of this scale, if I play E major, it sounds like this. So you can see this part of it But now instead of playing the G sharp, I go to G natural. So this is the minor bit. So it's minor, major. It's a very interesting sound because now we get to, it's a very useful scale, this melodic minor scale. So I have E minor. If I stick that C sharp in that chord, I get a very interesting, mysterious sort of sounding chord. If I stick a D sharp in there, it also sounds really interesting and whoa, really, really spooky kind of, right? Okay, so those, what I'm going to do with this 2/5 then is I'm going to play E minor scale for the F sharp minor. Now, why? Because this chord is the 2 chord of E minor. It's born out of the E minor scale, which is the same as G. So again, it's E minor, just a regular minor, just like you're playing G. But I maybe would focus on the F sharp. Same reason, if I start on the F sharp, it's a chord tone. So I'll go F sharp to F sharp. Sounds like that chord. Same as that chord, just different octave. So that scale, it's great. I can think the switch is pretty minimal. I did a 2-5-1-4 in the key of G. Now to go to the F sharp minor, I'm just thinking use the E minor scale. It's the same scale, but focus on the F sharp. Okay, so that's how I'm making the easy transition. It's really nothing different. I just have to focus on the chord. So if I play the first 3 notes of that, I get F sharp, G, A. Do-do-da. Sounds great because I'm playing those, I'm landing on that chord tone. And then if I go to the next chord, which is B7. Now remember, this chord does not belong to G because of the D sharp. It belongs to the key of E minor, but not the E minor I just played. That was regular because it had a natural D in it. I have to play the harmonic minor. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is raised, and E is the same, of course. So I get this sound for the F sharp minor. And now for the B, I'm going to get this kind of sound. B, C. And you can see it's just begging to go to that E. Right? So this sound. And that sounded like so you can hear that those lines were kind of imitating the sound of the chord very well. So it's outlining the chord tones. Because of the note I'm starting on, basically, and as long as I play the scale sort of in line, I get a chord tone, a non-chord tone, a chord tone. They belong to this chord that I'm playing. So there's the 3 notes. So maybe what I'll do now is just play on the same track, but I will complete the whole thing. And I'm just dealing with the first 3 notes of each of these. Oh, so I wanted to mention on the last E minor, it's just a plain old E minor. So when you see E minor, I can say, well, I can treat it either one of those 3 ways. I can play a natural minor. Sounds fine. If I play the harmonic, sounds very mysterious, right? I get that sound. If I use the melodic minor, I get that sound as well. So that's what I'll use for the E minor, because why not? I've used already the natural minor for the F sharp. Now I go to B for the B7, and for the E minor, I go to this more exotic sound with the melodic minor. Okay, so I'll try to fit all that in one go around of this backtrack. So now this is the A section of Autumn Leaves, and this is basically the whole tune, except for a little 2-bar chromatic bit. So when you have this information down and you realize that Autumn Leaves is just basically a major 2-5-1-4 and a minor 2-5-1, it becomes pretty easy to navigate it once you've sort of done your exploring on the scales and found out what the, where all the chord tones are. That's basically what this is doing. It's a really good exercise in finding chord tones. So here we go. Let it rest. Now I'm doing G to C. Now I'm F sharp, B7, melodic minor. Right, so that's kind of cool. It is using two different scales, two different key centers. One is in G, one's in E minor. The whole tune keeps flipping back and forth from this G major to E minor sound, and it's great in that a lot of tunes will do this. Like I said, the E minor is related to G in that the key signature is the same. So when you look at these chords, they all seem to fit really well together. And now your lines will fit together if you just deal with the first 3 notes to begin with. So I'm not going to play a whole A minor scale. I'll just deal with part of it. So maybe I'll start on this A. There's the first 3 notes. Verse 5, right? So I can play the first 5 for a while until I'm comfortable with that. Then maybe go to the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that you get that kind of sound. But the reason we're going to these odd numbers, the root is in the chord, obviously. That's the name of the chord. The 3 is in the chord. It tells you if the chord's major or minor. The 5th is a safe spot to land. The 7th is a safe spot to land. And we can extend the chord even further to the 9, the 11, and the 13. And they all are safe spots. But right now, we're just talking about a 4-note chord. These are all 4-note chords. So it's a root, 3, 5, and 7. So here's root 3, 5 in A minor. Here's root 3, sorry, I should say root to 3. Now root to 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E is my target. Or C is my target. Or A is my target. They all sound good. When I'm going to the D7, I'll use the D as 1. I'll start down here. The 3 is F sharp. The 5 is A. And the flat 7 is the C. Again, the dominant chord has a flat 7 in it. So that theory, if you don't understand it, just go to another one of my videos where I talk about chord structure. Okay, and then what else do we need? Then it goes to G. So first 3 notes of G, or first 5, gets me to D. And so you want to know where all these spots are. I can pick them out. G, 3, 5, 7. I know where those notes are right away. So if I want a G major 7 sound, these notes are all in the chord. But I have all these other notes in the scale that I can use to make my lines. Okay, so here's the first 3 notes. Or first 5 notes. I'll try to get more notes in, so I'll have to play a little bit faster. So there's how to use the modes when it's basically a diatonic tune. In other words, the chords all came from the same scale. That's what we're talking about here, except we have two different scales that are very closely related, except for the mutations that I was saying on the sixth minor, the Aeolian mode. That mode has actually three different variations, if you like. A natural minor, which is just like G, the harmonic minor, which has the raised 7, and the melodic minor, which has the raised 6 and 7. So I hope that clears up a few things about modes and how to use them. Like I said, go easy on it. Don't take the whole scale, but just try to make music with 3 notes of each chord. And get to know where the chord tones are. Once you know where the root and the 3 are, then go to 5, and then you know root 3, 5, and those are your, you want to hit those points in the tune, and then root 3, 5, 7, and so on. That's how we build our lines. The other suggestion I would have too is only to play 2 bars at a time. So if we're talking about A minor to D, let that be the end of your line. So it's maybe I'll go da 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 2, 3, 4. So I give it a rest. I don't play continually. That sounds very musical to create these little phrases, and it's not sort of just rambling on a bunch of notes, right? It's not about playing fast, and that seems to be the trend now. Is players think better is faster, and there's always been a bit of that, but it's kind of an extreme level now, where people actually aren't playing a lot of music, but they're playing a lot of flashy, fast playing, which doesn't do much for me personally, but whatever, it's whatever you want to do with it. So I'll play one more time through that, and I'll try to do that where I definitely have a pause on every second chord. So what you're trying to do there is play through the A minor. That would have been beat 1. I landed on a C, which belongs to a D7. So I'm hunting for a note to land on that belongs to the next chord. The easiest thing to do is try to hit that on beat 1 when the chord changes. You can hit it anywhere. If I hit it in the middle of the bar, I still have a bit of a pause. Like say I landed on beat 3, I'll still have a beat rest in between there. So it separates my phrases. So it doesn't sound like I'm just rambling. Okay, so I'll go one more time through, and this time I'll try to make sure you hear the phrases. So that you should hear a 2-bar phrase going from A minor to D7 with a little bit of hole after that. Then you'll hear a G going to a C with a bit of a hole. Then you'll hear F sharp minor going to B7. Now I might play a little bit more on the B7. I'll do a little pickup going into the E minor because it's going to end there. Okay, so here it comes. So 2-bar phrases. Beat 1. G now. Ending, bit of a pause. F sharp. B7. And I played the melodic minor at the end of that. So I hope that clears up a few things about modes and how to use them. Great. So that's been a pleasure, and I hope you got something out of it. If there's anything you're wondering about, feel free to comment in the comment section and ask a question. I'll be sure and answer it. And yeah, there you go. I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.